If I brought myself onto the screen. Good afternoon and welcome back to the West Ham Network for today's West Ham Daily. Hope you're all well. I am Anton. Please, if you are new around here, please make sure you go across, click that subscribe button. We're on the march to, I'm going to say it, 20,000 subscribers, but we're a hop, skip and a jump away from 12,000. So if you are watching and you haven't subscribed already, click that subscription button now. Please do it. You'll be well worth it. Last night, Russie B had Matty Holmes. If anyone is from the era of my lifetime supporting West Ham, Matty Holmes, you'll know exactly who he is. Little guy, hardly any neck. He run right. He was a brilliant winger for West Ham. I loved him. Absolutely loved him. It was a great show last night. So please make sure you do go and check that out as well. Loads of content coming your way. We've got the Hammers headlines coming out later on, where we'll be discussing 3 of the Hammers headlines for the day. And as we are in silly season, it is ridiculous amount of stories. I said it yesterday, it's relentless. It's all coming at us every single day. We are linked with every single footballer that you would imagine that we're linked with. I was thinking the other day, when I seen Burnley playing, I thought, Cornet, he looks like a good player. I wonder when that link comes out. Bang, what happens? We're linked to him today. Typical, silly season as a West Ham fan. But before we get started, I'm going to bring Holly on in a second. West Ham today have issued their retaining list. So as you can see from the title, the summer overhaul has started and it is in full swing. So West Ham have issued the club's retain list for the end of the 21-22 season. 4 first-team players are going to be departing the London Stadium when their contracts end on the 30th of June. So I'm going to bring up the first player who we know. There's no point in me having to introduce who he is. The legend, Mark Noble, 550 appearances for the club, 62 goals and 61 assists. We don't really need to do any more. We've done so much shows on him, but I'm not meaning that in a negative way. I'm saying he doesn't really need any more introductions. The man's a legend. He'll go down in West Ham history as a legend as well. So farewell, Marky boy. And we did know that he was heading away from the club. Next up is David Martin. I don't think this was a surprise to many fans. He made 5 appearances for the club. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes into the club in some form of coaching capacity, but we'll see. He is West Ham through and through, Claret and Blue through and through. So we wish him all the best in his future. Yarmolenko, we knew this because Yarmolenko had spoke out about it himself. He's going to be leaving the club at the end of the campaign. 110k a week, a lot of money saved off the wage bill. 86 appearances for the club, 13 goals and 7 assists as well. And then finally, the 4th first team player that was announced today, which I think was kind of debatable within the fan base, was Ryan Fredericks. So that's been announced that he is definitely going to be leaving the club. I know there was rumours about him going back to Fulham. Today there's a rumour about him going potentially to Southampton. We got him on a free transfer and he's going to be available for someone else on a free transfer. 77 appearances, 3 goals and 6 assists. I will be going through the younger players in a minute, but while we're here and while we've got Holly, let's bring her on. Holly, how are you? You okay?
Yeah, really good. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us again, Holly. So I've gone through 4 of the first team players, of which I think, to be honest, we knew a lot about most of them. But is there any surprises in there for you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I wrote an article the other day on Yarmolenko, and it's kind of bittersweet because I feel like he was plagued by injuries. He could have had potential, and then obviously he's done fantastically for us, scoring when it mattered most towards the end of his career with us. And he's gone, but no surprises. I don't think they're players that would help us get to the level that we need to be at. And I think this is the time where we need to improve positions, and they weren't even impact subs, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, listen, when we're doing all the kind of history and looking at what they've actually done for the club. I think there was one player though, the Ryan Fredericks, if I bring him back up here. You know, we know he's very popular in the changing room, and he's very, very good friends with Declan Rice. And I'm not trying to say that's why West Ham should be keeping a player like that, but equally though, if the morale is so good and he's pivotal as to why that is, which is what we're led to believe, and it looks like that. At that point, you think, oh God, that's a big, big, bold move. But I don't know, maybe it's not. I mean, 77 appearances in 4 years for the club. He only made 5 appearances, I believe, this season. I think it was for West Ham. I mean, he wasn't really making any impact, really, was he?
It's a bit of a sad one because I remember at one point he was brilliant. He used to fly down the wing, and his pace, even although maybe defensively he wasn't the best player, he managed to still catch up with the player to do enough. So I felt like he definitely could offer things to the team, but he didn't really get the chance, obviously, and the consistency wasn't always there. And I guess that just spelled the end of his time at West Ham. But like you were saying as well, having people that are good in the dressing room is so important. And we've lost quite a few there that were also brilliant. Obviously, I assume and I hope that Noble will still have a massive part in it. But to have lost him, apparently Martin was great around the dressing room as well. Fredericks, I'm sure Yarmolenko was. They all seem to really get on with him as well. So there's a lot of changes happening everywhere.
Isn't it funny though, like when you think about West Ham of old, when we used to announce the retained list and you would say so long, farewell, you know, and not really give any form of respect onto these players' names. But for what we've gone through over the last couple of years, even with the injuries that Yarmolenko suffered, he's still given us some really good memories as a West Ham fan, in particular this season, considering what he's gone through in his personal life. And it's kind of nice for the first time in a long time to be able to respectfully wave goodbye to some of our players and say, do you know what, you're welcome back at the club. Obviously not as a player, but in some form of capacity. It's harsh, but kind of true. So yeah, I mean, it is, isn't it? It makes a difference, Holly.
They've all brought a lot to the team as well. And like you said, Yarmolenko, the amount of injuries that he had as well. I knew that he'd had an injury-plagued career, but when I actually looked at it, he's hurt his back, he's hurt his knee, he had COVID for a while. He's literally had so many separate injuries. So I think he's been really unlucky, to be honest, to have not have got more of a chance. And he's always made the most of the opportunities that he's got. I just think he doesn't fit into that system as well anymore. But yeah, it's interesting times at the club because it is quite not nice to be saying goodbye to players that you appreciate what they've done at the club, but it's nice having that where it's not sort of like you're just getting rid of deadwood. It feels like you're actually getting rid of people that still will go on to do somewhere else, which I think says a lot about our ambition and where we're actually heading.
And probably also gives West Ham fans a little bit of excitement because we know we need to strengthen, but this is forcing the hand to strengthen because we've got a thin squad and 4 first-team players are leaving. And in a minute, we will be going through. I've just kind of collectively pulled together some players, which is a lot that we've been linked to, and just to, you know, for me and you to discuss with the chat, like what we actually need. But I'll go through some comments first before we do move on. Ludders is in the house. Feel sorry for Fredericks and Martin. Thought Martin would be a good coach, and he's on big, and he's not on big money. Fredericks is on high wages, but would have offered him a lower wage as a squad player. What do you think, Holly?
It's a difficult one because he's not that old, is he? It might be that also, I think I would have probably kept him as a squad player because I do think he's good enough to stay in the squad. We just know that he won't be one of the players starting and probably won't get too many opportunities to actually play. But if he was happy doing that, I think he would have been a great asset to the team. But at the same time, I wonder if he wants to go on and get game time because it must be frustrating not really getting a look in.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got big fans in here, Holly, tonight. Or today, I should say, Holly. We will come on to players in particular, but this was interesting, but I don't know if he was hacked or whatever. But Basuma of Brighton put up a West Ham sign on his Instagram page, then deleted it. So on his bio, apparently, and I did see it actually, did have the Hammers cross on there, which I thought was really interesting, but I don't know if you really read into these things. I think these things can be easily hacked into and change as well. So Hammers in saying, yeah, exactly. It's not the best thing to say. I'm sorry to point this out, but Bowen got more goals and assists one season than Yarmo in 83 appearances. I know, but it's true. It is true. I mean, we've got to consider as well with Yarmolenko, like you said, Holly, a lot of injuries. I think the Achilles injury was the one that really killed his career at West Ham.
Yeah, he's up so long with that.
Yeah, he really was, and a lot of people would struggle to come back from that. And at least he came back and he did try. I mean, he lost pace. I mean, he never had pace, but whatever pace he did have was gone. after that injury, really, wasn't it?
It seemed like he got sussed out a bit as well, because obviously we know he loves to cut in and shoot with his left foot. But at the beginning, it seemed to take defenders by surprise. But by the end of his time at West Ham, I think everyone knew exactly what he was going to try and do. And it made it a bit harder for him to do the things that he was doing so well at the beginning.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Cornet from Burnley will be a good sign. We'll come on to him in a second. Papa Firth is saying, bang on, none would make my bench and certainly not impact sub potential, but injuries ruined that. So I think everyone's kind of agreeing there. Fredericks used to be great, but now he's just past his peak.
How old is Fredericks?
30 years old. I didn't realise. I thought he was, I thought he was younger than that as well. So
I thought he was about 24 for some reason.
Yeah, absolutely. So many comments here. Papa saying afternoon. Gaza saying hi, Holly.
Hi,
Jimmy
Gaza.
Jones is saying if we stop payments on Vlasic, will the bailiffs repossess him? Yarmo should go to Portugal or Holland where it's slower. He'd score 20 a year for a year and then sail off into the sun. DJ Leon, hope you're well. Hey, and you good mate. David Martin said to me last week he wants to play and got offers lower down. So good luck to him. Oh, there you go. Bit of inside knowledge there, DJ. I'd love to hear that. But listen, you know what? It's nice when you can hear things like that because he obviously wants to play on in his career. And I think the door will always be open to someone like him because of the history he's got with the club. So that's really cool. Matt is in the house. Stato Matt can't really have Fredericks as a squad player on almost the same wages as Beck, though. 70k is far too high for a squad player, though. Martin might not get a coaching role unless he's been saved for Fab. What do you think, Ollie?
Yeah, obviously you can't really have someone that's a full-on squad player on that kind of wages. And I guess it'd be a question of whether he'd be willing to actually drop his wages. And Martin, I think he's a great guy. Obviously, we haven't seen that much of him. He's had a few little moments that have been absolutely fantastic. I don't know, to be honest. I think goalkeeper is a position that we need to strengthen now. I'm not sure Martin would necessarily be the answer because the pressure would really be on there. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we move into players we're linked to, and there's a lot, and I've not, trust me, if I put them all there, we'd be here all day doing the world record YouTube show. We're not going to be doing that today. But let me just give a mention to the development squad players who have been released today, because I think it's fair. It's a hard job. It's a hard world. It's a dog-eat-dog world down there in that development squad. And if you can't make it, it's about what happens next. Where do you go from the heights of being at West Ham? And the first player I want to talk about is Nathan Holland. 4 first-team appearances featuring as a substitute against Wolves and Arsenal in the Premier League in December 2019 and twice in the League Cup. He's also made more than 50 senior appearances during 2 loan spells at Oxford United. So much promise, yet didn't really fulfill that at West Ham. Holly, however, you think he's probably going to go and make a good career of himself in the lower leagues?
Yeah, I imagine so. I think it's one of those where some of the players that we've let out on loan, they haven't really been utilised by the clubs that they've been at, which is a shame because they've not been able to make the most of it. But he's clearly a very talented player, and I've every hope that he'll go on to do really great things.
Yeah, absolutely. So all the best to Nathan Holland. Next up on the released list was Bernardo Rosa. He featured once in the first team squad as an unused substitute from the Premier League fixture at Sheffield United in January 2020. He played 65 games for the development squad, including 11 times in the EFL Trophy. I'll move on next to Jaden Fevrier. He is 19, became West Ham's youngest ever reserve team player when he appeared against Leicester City at 15 years, 6 months and 12 days in October 2018, breaking our record previously set by Mark Noble in 2003. This player in particular I thought had actually a really good future at West Ham, and that shows what we really know, because you heard a lot of good things about some of the younger players, but it seems to be that they haven't made the grade.
Yeah, it's such a strange one as well, because I think that step up, as talented as a player can be, there's a massive amount of luck that comes into play, getting those opportunities to actually prove yourself to the right people. And it really is dog eat dog. I think being able to come through from those younger ranks and make an impact in higher leagues and in senior squads is difficult. Oh, I can't hear you.
I need to unmute myself. That's what I need to do. Apologies for that. But I think what I think we did last year was, for the first time as West Ham fans, we actually snapped up a lot of the really good talent around the younger talents around other clubs. So Okoflex, for example, Ikwa, and bringing those players in has made the current crop that are potentially been released look over their shoulders and go, oh shit, we need to raise our game again. Because a lot of them become comfortable. And that's where the dog eat dog world comes into play. You know, we're now snapping up these players and they're coming in and they're leaps and bounds above what some of the quality we've got in the team. And that really doesn't favour the ones that are there. But next up out the door was Amadou Diallo, 19, played 25 times for the development squad, scored 5 goals, including 1 appearance in the EFL Trophy at Colchester United, and in September of last year. On top of that, we also said goodbye today to midfielder Osama Ashley. He's 22. We signed him from AFC Wimbledon back in 2020 and has since made 14 appearances for the development squads. And I think we've only got a couple more that we're saying goodbye to. Or this is the last one. Left back Evans, Isaac Evans. He made 19 under 18 Premier League appearances over the previous 2 seasons. So we've got to sit there and wish them all the best for the future. And thank you very much for, turning up and putting on a West Ham shirt and wearing it with pride as well. Anything you want to say about the young lads?
Just wish them all the best, to be honest. I hope that they go on to have really good careers and that, that this is just the beginning of what they can achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let's get on to the nitty gritty. We're linked with everyone and their aunts and their uncles and their cousins and their brothers and sisters, you name it. We're linked to them. But let's get on to the goalkeeper. Rumour has it we're potentially going to be bringing in Areola on a permanent deal. But sniffing around in the background, you've got Sam Johnson and Pope from Burnley. Of course, they've just been relegated. England international goalkeeper, good quality. We know what he's capable of doing. You've also got Sam Johnston, who's been released from West Brom. What would you do, Holly, in the goalkeeper department?
I definitely think we should sign Areola on a permanent. The opportunities he's got, he's done brilliantly for us. And I'd like to see what he's capable of as well. I think given a bit more game time, it'd be really interesting to see how he copes. I still do like Fabianski, but like everyone's saying, obviously we're getting to a point where we need to strengthen that position. I'd take Johnson or Pope, to be honest. I think I'd probably choose Pope if I had to pick one of the two. But I think either would be really good additions. And they're younger, obviously. Fabianski, how old is he? He's about 30.
35 or 4, I think, is he? Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be good to sort of get some younger people in that hopefully we can actually keep. Because I think one of the things we've really benefited from is where we've had Fabianski for so long, it almost feels like that starts working with the defence and the communications there.
Yeah.
And I think getting people and swapping them in and out all the time probably wouldn't be the idea. But definitely Areola on a permanent for me. And then the other positions undecided for me.
It's interesting though, because I think last season when we signed Areola, I didn't think we were going to be in the market to bring a keeper in. But when a quality keeper of that standard becomes available, you bring him in. And that's what we've done. I am delighted with him. And I think he's got potential to be the long-term West Ham goalkeeper. I think Fabianski will stay. I think Randolph will go. He's got a year left in his contract. I know we knocked him back from leaving back in January. But I think if we can bring in either Johnson or Pope, it looks like we could be bringing in 2 keepers in this summer window, which every West Ham fan will probably get annoyed with, because every week when you look at the substitute bench, Holly, you see 2 goalkeepers and you're like, oh, what's going on here, But we're going to have, if we do bring in 2 more keepers, Areola, one of them, and Pope or Johnston, I mean, you've got 3 top-notch goalkeepers there. Really good keepers.
And you've got to make the most of those opportunities as well. It's quite rare where you'll get players of that caliber who are out and about and looking for a team. And currently, we're probably quite an attractive proposition for players to come to and actually prove themselves. So I think if the timings align, even although goalkeepers, we don't necessarily desperately need 2, and that's not the main priority that we probably had on our minds for the last few seasons, it's still well worthwhile trying to invest into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep your comments coming in as well. We'll move into the defence. We've got, obviously, Craig Dawson, Zuma. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the Zuma saga, but I don't know what to believe, what you read anymore. You hear that maybe Moyes isn't too happy with his performances as of late, but I didn't think his performances were terribly wrong, to be honest. I thought he was actually playing quite well, actually, in the season. You've got Ogbonna coming back, but he is 34, coming back from such a big injury, which isn't going to be great. We don't know what's going to happen with Issa Diop, but we know we have to strengthen in defence as well, and losing Fredericks in the left back position, potentially Masuaku leaving the club. But first up, we know that this man is very close to signing a Guerd, Moroccan international from Rennes. I mean, he looks like the business. He really does, doesn't he, Holly?
Yeah, he really does. And I think what he would offer to that centre-back position would be brilliant. I had a little look at his stats as well, and he's just really respected in every single league that he's played in. So I think he'd be a brilliant addition, and it would just strengthen up that centre-back position.
Yeah, I'm just giving you some information on him, and we will be doing an individual video if he does sign on him and letting him know what he can potentially do. Like just under 2,000 passes in the current season, carried the ball forward over 1,700 times, 152 clearances, 54 interceptions. It just shows you like, and he does look like quite a calm, collected defender. He's a left-footed centre half, but he can play with his right foot as well, so he can definitely bring us options and support in that back area. Another player we've been linked to is the Rangers centre back and left back, Calvin Bassey. I did a video on him myself. What do you think of him? I mean, he'd be available on the cheap, very well. Apart from the fact Rangers want a lot of money for him, but still quite cheap.
Definitely. And while Rangers do want a lot of money, I guess by their standards, it is still cheap. And I have nothing against bringing in. I know that obviously over the years we've had players like Hugo, where everyone's like, what's happening here? But to bring in players that are cost effective, if we think that they'll fit into that system, I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Loads of comments here. Helen Luthers is saying, surprised that we've retained Randolph. Well, the thing is, Randolph is still got a year left on his contract. So it looks like if we're going to get rid of him, it will be either buying out his contract or selling him. And I think that probably will happen as well. Do you think Ogbonna will be sold? That's from Harley. No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think it will depend how long he stays based on how he is when he comes back, because being out for so long, you can come back a completely different player, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many comments here. I'm just trying to choose some of them. Diop and Oggy have been out a lot of the season. Thought we may have got rid of one or both. The fact that Oggy was supposed to be back before the season end and never happened is a worry for me. I mean, he is 34. Yeah, I mean, I was never Ogbonna's biggest fan, Holly, when he first came to West Ham. But laterally, in the last couple of seasons, he has definitely come to the forefront and led the back line 100%. But this injury is, at the age that he is going to be tough to come back to the highest standard that you can. So you can't help but think that we're looking beyond Ogbonna.
Yeah, I think we know his career is coming to an end, and whether he comes back and does fantastically for us for another season or two, or whether it just doesn't click and we don't even end up using him. But I imagine mentality-wise, fitness-wise, there's going to be a lot for him to sort of pick up to catch up with the pace that we're currently at.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we're hearing loads of stories about players going out the door. Souček for sale, Benrahma for sale, Vlasic for sale. I did a video the other day, and I actually said every single West Ham player, in theory, is for sale, especially when you hear someone go, the price tag on Declan Rice is 150 million quids. In theory, what they're saying is any player's for sale if you give us stupid money for it. Now, I don't think West Ham are proactively going to sell Tommy Souček, because I think that would be ridiculous. Because if you get rid of Souček, Holly, you get rid of Alex Kroll and you get rid of Mark Noble, we've got one recognised centre midfielder.
Yeah, and the other thing is, when you go to another team and you're trying to buy a defensive midfielder and they know that Rice may well leave at some point in the future, you've just lost Noble, you've just sold Souček, they could charge whatever they wanted basically as well. So I think to sell Souček would put us in a really bad position unless we have got a player in and maybe a backup as well that would be significantly better, which for what we'd probably have available money-wise to replace him, I think we'd end up spending a fortune for quite a similar like-for-like replacement.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Now, I don't doubt that we are probably looking in the market for a central midfielder, and we've been linked to several central midfielders. So I'm going to bring some of them up to the forefront. Conor Gallagher, was on loan to Crystal Palace. His parent club is Chelsea. He was on loan. He's been on loan quite a lot of his career. But the first time he really came to my attention, Holly, was when he was playing for West Brom against West Ham, and he kind of dominated us in the midfield. And then this season, in particular for Crystal Palace, he'd done the same again. For me, I really like the looks of him.
I thought the same, and quite a while back when I was watching him playing for Palace, I thought exactly the same, that he looks like a really promising player, and one that would probably fit quite well in the way that we play, because he really can sort of hold and dominate in midfield.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. He got 34 appearances for Crystal Palace this season, 8 goals and 3 assists. What's really cool about him is that he would really probably complement Declan Rice really well. In actual fact, not just Declan Rice, but Tommy Soucek. The three of them, you can actually picture that, you know, if there's that kind of conveyor belt of players in and out, he can be a defensive central midfielder, but he can also be an attacking midfielder. And he kind of emulates that box-to-box midfielder, but he offers quite a lot of trickery with that as well. I really like him. It's now down to the case of whether or not Chelsea are willing to sell him, or are they willing to keep a hold of him. I don't know what Chelsea will do with Conor Gallagher.
It's a difficult one because I don't think they'll play him, and I imagine he wants to get game time again. But whether it would be on a loan or if they'd be willing to actually sell him, I do wonder.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Next one up, though, from the Premier League is James Ward-Prowse, Southampton captain, dead ball specialist. What do you think of James Ward-Prowse?
His set pieces are absolutely unbelievable. So that would be very exciting. I think if you were to sign him, you'd have a similar level of excitement for a free kick than we did when we had Payet.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see what he could do. I'm not 100% sure that his gameplay would naturally fit in sort of alongside Rice, but it might just be that I need to have a better look at him. To be honest, usually I watch a billion YouTube videos and highlights to properly analyse once I hear
And
a rumor.
analyze it. Yeah,
I've had a chance
absolutely.
yet, so it's one of those, but we know how talented he is, so he'd no
Yeah.
doubt be a very good addition.
Yeah, and I think when you see these links, it shows you that West Ham are really in the market for, well, we have to be in the market for someone in the central midfield area. The problem you've got with someone like James Ward-Prowse, particularly James Ward-Prowse, is he's the captain of Southampton. He's an England international. He's scored 10 goals this season and 5 assists in a struggling Southampton side. So they're not going to let him go in the cheap. And because he's the England international, he comes with probably a £20 million premium on top of that. So you're looking, I mean, I've heard random crazy rumors that they want 70+ million for him. And I mean, would you pay that for Ward-Prowse, Holly?
Personally, no, but I guess it's a similar position to how we are with Rice, where they want the money for it to be worth their while. No, I wouldn't pay 70 million for him, but yeah, if he was cheaper than that, I'd definitely consider him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's players I've missed off the list today. Calvin Phillips, Leeds. I think maybe if they had gone down, Holly, he would have been someone who would absolutely complemented Declan Rice. But Leeds have stayed up, and the rumor has it that they all seem to be back in the new manager. But if he was available, would you go over the odds and try and bring someone like Calvin Phillips in?
Yeah, I definitely would. And I really like Calvin Phillips as well. I think I heard that it was around a 50 million price tag that people were talking about.
Yeah.
But he is another player that's had quite a lot of injury in his career. So I would be worried that you'd sort of push the boat out to pay for him, and then very quickly we'd end up with an injured player. And I don't know if he'd definitely start ahead of Rice or Soucek. So again, would be a great addition to that midfield.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt Flack, Stato saying, I could see Soucek being sold. I don't want to sell him, but unless they've got at least 2, if not 2 centre midfielders coming in, I can't see Soucek going. And I was messaging you the other day, Stato, saying, I disagree with you. I don't think Soucek is going. But listen, we're all entitled to our own opinions. Hammer saying, I don't think we're able to going to sign Gallagher on a permanent transfer. Chelsea are bad negotiators. It's going to cost around 50 million anyways. We should loan him in instead. It's just whether or not Chelsea want to loan him to us as well. Toby Howlett is saying, yes, Gallagher will do a job because then we got 3 players that play for England. Absolutely. Brownhill from Burnley, relegated, a player that Moyes has been looking at for such a long time. He'd be a cut price deal. Does he want to be a superstar in the Championship or a squad rotating player in the Premier League with a club that's playing in Europe? That's a decision he would need to make, or yourself, Holly. What do you think of him?
Yeah, I think he'd actually be very good. But like you were saying, it's whether you step up but end up as a squad player, or whether you want some more game time a bit earlier on. So yeah, it's one of those decisions, but I definitely think he'd be a good addition to our squad.
Yeah. Well, Holly, I know you need to go, but I've got one more player I want to discuss with you before you go, and it's the player that's been part of the West Ham saga of transfers for the last year. His name is Jesse Lingard. I mean, apparently we're in negotiations with his team. He is out on holiday in LA as we speak, so nothing's going to be happening anytime soon. But what do you do when it comes to the Jesse Lingard saga?
It's one of those that just keeps going and going, doesn't it? We know what he did for us. We know that he fits well into everything that we do, and I'd happily take him at the club, but I also think we want him to want to play for the club. But I don't think I'm keen on sort of begging a player to come back. Same thing again, you never know when a player's been out of a squad for a while, would he come back and actually have an impact? But he obviously needs to do something, because at United he's not getting any time, and it looked like he had a great time at the club, and we know that he performed well, so I would definitely take him back at the club. It's just I guess how keen he is to sign him, what the cost of that would be.
Absolutely. Holly, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll hopefully see you all very soon.
Definitely. Chat soon.
Yep. No worries. Take it easy. Thanks, Holly, for joining us. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye. Hope you all enjoyed having Holly on as well. I'm going to go through some more of the players that we've got on the kind of rumoured list potentially coming in. Now, listen, I would love to go through the comments, but I don't know if Russ had said to you, but we're having a problem with the comments section and it keeps jumping again. So we've actually been in contact with the provider to let them know that. So hopefully they can get that sorted out. But it seems to have actually come back again. Matt is saying, honestly, I'd chuck 60, 70 million at Chelsea for Broja and Gallagher. Richard's in the house. Good to see you. Gutted Abraham got away. Gallagher, yes. Don't let this one get away. Abraham, 29 goals for Roma this season, and you know, celebrating a victory in Europe as well. So we'll see. Mark Alexander, Gallagher, 30 million. James Ward-Prowse, 70 million. One is better and cheaper. No brainer. Absolutely. Toby is saying, I think he would be good at West Ham, but I think we'd be willing to stay at Southampton. Both clubs just don't do business with each other ever since Adebayor. I love James Ward-Prowse. We're prepared to offer 50 million for Phillips. I'll do and chuck that at him and see what they say. Matt says they don't have mega rich owners and are built in the process of building up players and selling them for profit. So 50 million would interest the owners. I'd love James Ward-Prowse. Imagine the set pieces with our aerial attack. Absolutely. I want Payet back. He's done well in the French league. Brownhill's squad player for not next level. You are right. Paul is saying James Ward-Prowse come to West Ham, just a dream. Keep dreaming. Absolutely. Next up though is Lewis Potter of Hull City. Really like keen Lewis Potter. I think he's a very very good potential for the future player. Maybe another Jared Bowen on the other side coming in for West Ham. 45 appearances for Hull City in the Championship, 12 goals and 4 assists. He is 21 years old, represented England on a 21 level as well. You know, it's definitely an interesting link. I think he would really offer. He would be another quality player coming up for the Championship that Moyes would have to breed into the team and into the Premier League. But I think he's definitely looks like he's potentially capable of doing that as well. So that's a player I would love to see West Ham bring in. Max Cornet, join us on the Hammers headlines at 5 p.m. when we do talk about him. I mean, he's got a release clause at Burnley now that they've been relegated, but he does look like a quality player. He looks like he's got something about him. In 26 appearances in the Premier League this season, he's got 9 goals and 1 assist in a struggling Burnley side. He definitely offered them something. He's an Ivory Coast international, 6 goals in 25 games for them as well, and he could be brought in for a cut price deal and definitely offer us something at West Ham as well. So get your comments in regarding him. Mark Alexander says Lewis Potter on the left. We're desperate in that area. Would give balance to the team with Bowen on the right. I completely agree with you 100%, Mark. I would like him at West Ham if he did play when Jared played for Hull, when 2 teammates back together. Absolutely. Leathers is right. 100 over people watching. 22 likes. Get those thumbs up. Please hit those thumbs up as well. Showed Rice in a Man United shirt. Dream on. Absolutely dream on. Mixie Antonio, it's really concerning going for players in English leagues. They are too expensive because they've got the 20 million price tag premium that sits on top of that as well. I wouldn't mind Cornet and Weghorst from Burnley. I think Weghorst might be in the sort of player that in the right team might actually do a reasonable job as well. But you definitely never know what's going to happen there. Emmanuel Dennis. Next up from Watford, £20 million, been relegated with Watford. Nigeria international this season has got 10 goals from 33 Premier League appearances with 6 assists. He outscored any of his Watford colleagues by 50%. No one else got anywhere near him. In terms of the goal scoring records, could be available for around £20 million. What do you think of the probability of that? But GP is saying you're not keen on Dennis. But I think, we've seen what he is capable of doing. He scored a fantastic goal against West Ham this season, a curler from outside the box, just at the edge of the box. He definitely has some form of potential. I'm not saying he would be playing every single week in and week out, but if he puts the ball in the back of the net and he works for the team, which it looks like he does, then he definitely could be an option. We've only got a few more players to go through before we come into your comments again, and that is Broja currently of Chelsea, but was on loan at Southampton this season. 6 goals in 32 appearances for Southampton when he was on loan, with 1 assist. His form kind of broke off near the tail end of the season. However, he's a big lad, 6'2", I believe he is. He is only 20 years old. He's got so much potential, and you can't help but think that we're looking at players like him that can really offer, a future. Maybe he's the sort of player that can fit into the jigsaw puzzle that David Moyes is building as well. Then we'll move into Ollie Watkins. He's another player we've been linked to as well, but it looks like potentially Gerrard may have hinted that they're going to be fighting to keep him at Aston Villa. In 35 league appearances this year, he scored 11 goals and 2 assists. I really think we missed out on bringing him into the club. I think he really would have been a potential future West Ham legend if we'd have managed to bring him in as well. But 26 years old, it's just whether or not we can bring a player of that quality into the club and whether or not Aston Villa would want to sell to the rivals. Aston Villa are very busy in the market, but they are spending money left, right and centre, and they've got no worries at all about it. But it just shows, I think when you look at all the players I've brought up to you there, goalkeeper, centre halves, left backs, central midfielders and strikers, you can start to see between all the links what kind of player and who are the players that we potentially are looking to bring in. Let me jump into the chat, see what everyone else is saying. I think we're going to get players in that we have not heard of, possibly. Yeah, well, to be honest though with you, Antonio, we've been linked with everyone, so it's going to be hard to find a player we've not been linked to. Paul is saying James Ward-Prowse is coming to West Ham, just a dream, keep dreaming. Absolutely. I think I've read that one as well. Let me jump in here. Martin, Cornet would definitely suit our style of play. Quick, technically decent, and can score a goal. Apparently 17.5 million. Release clause by Sky. Absolutely. Budgie says Cornet looks like a next level Diafra Saka. Absolutely. Matt says I think we could sell him for 40 million, but reckon it'd be somewhere like Bayern. Mate, Suchek's not going. Don't worry. Don't need to be worried about that. Whoever we get, pace is a must. Absolutely. Didn't we go for Weghorst before he was for Burnley? But I think the reason is for this reason, because he wasn't vaccinated, so we didn't bring him in. GP is not keen on Dennis. Budgie says Dennis is a great impact sub. Antonio says I think Moyes will get something more out of Dennis. Absolutely. P-Gad's the same. 1 top signing, 2 internationals and a few backups is all West Ham need. You got this. Absolutely. Paul Parkinson is saying Rice will end up at Chelsea soon. New owners. It's not happening. I mean, no, it's not happening. Gaza, it's Lingard's brother. That's the problem. Well, let's hope they can get that sorted sooner rather than later. We need to break the bank and get high-end player. Dennis is playing in a better side, may surprise a few people. That's from Mark Alexander. Weghorst not coming is a blessing. Matt Flack says Paul, Chelsea's new owners have said they've got £200 million to spend this summer, so doubt they're going to spend 115 on Rice, but you never know. Good point as well. No, let's not be bothered about those fish. They've been cleaned, GP. They have been cleaned. Watkins holding up hammers in that picture. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. So that brings an end to our show. It's the summer overhaul has started. I'm assuming we'll start to hear of players potentially leaving. Loan deals that are going to be ended. So Alex Kroll, I expect to be terminated and probably won't sign for the club. But you never know. smoke and mirrors. Let's not play him, but we'll sign him. You never know what David Moyes will do. I mean, maybe we'll bring him back on loan again for another season, but you never know. We'll see what happens with him as well, and players that potentially heading out the door, whether or not Vlasic will leave, whether or not Benrahma will leave. We will have to wait and see. Let me see here. What's this? Toby says, I would like him at West Ham if he did play when Jared played for... Oh, we've already done that, did we not? Yeah, we did. Yeah, I like Lewis Potter as well. Absolutely. Right, that brings an end to our show. Keep your comments coming in once it goes. If you are new around here, please do hit that subscribe button. Join us at 5 p.m. for our Hammers Headlines show, where we bring some of the headlines of today, West Ham, and put them into one little cheeky show for you. And then over the weekend, you'll see a couple of sporadic pre-recorded shows as well, bringing you some more information on some of the players we are linked to. Stay safe, though. If you are new around here and you do want to become a channel member, you can click the join option as well. And as we usually do, we sometimes say thank you to our channel members. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Stay safe and come on, you Irons.
It's like a family tree.